Hey there, everybody. Matt Lawrence back here on the deWiz YouTube channel, joined by another deWiz success story. We have Phillip Brown with us, joining us today from Georgia, and we're going to talk to Phillip a little bit today about his progress with deWiz, the gains that he's seen in his game since working with deWiz. And Phillip, I guess kind of we'll start just with a little bit of background about yourself. What kind of golfer are you? Handicap that you play to? How much are you playing? What kind of golfer would you categorize yourself as?
So I am a fairly new golfer, really. So I played some about 12 years ago, and I'd played maybe one or two rounds a year. Went 5 or 6 years without touching a club, and then last summer, towards the end of the summer, I decided to start playing again. And I wasn't even tracking handicap at that time, barely even getting real scores. So it was probably a 30 at that time. And then about September, I started practicing and playing a lot more. And since then, so when I got the deWiz, I got it about 6 weeks ago. At that time, I was in the low 20s, and I'd occasionally put some rounds in the 90s together, and a lot of rounds were in the hundreds. And then after that, I got the deWiz. I'd been putting in a lot of practice time, and as of now, I'm down to a 14.
Wow.
So it made a pretty big difference.
Yeah, no, that's very impressive. And I guess, so when you kind of made the conscious decision, like, okay, I'm going to start working to get better and I'm going to start practicing, putting the time in, what was it, maybe necessarily what part of your game, just all around game, or was there anything in particular that, when you came across the deWiz, you saw it and said, oh, I think that can help me with my game? Was there anything in particular, or was it more of just, a holistic, I want to get better, this looks like something that's going to help me?
So I'm a software engineer, and so data really speaks to me. And I had been using launch monitors, hitting off a mat into a net, going to the driving range, working on all parts of the game, improving all over. And my biggest struggles were driver going OB. So I've got a lot of swing speed. So I end up getting into a lot of trouble when I go when I don't hit it straight. And then the short game side, I had a lot of issues. Chipping just wasn't natural at all to me. I've tried all kinds of different things, done tons of stuff, and just kept having issues. And so looking at the data on the deWiz, the wedge distance stuff was very interesting. I'd used a clock system before, but having the specific ability to measure your clock and repeat that, I thought that was fantastic. And but the biggest thing was seeing the actual swing data, because I was recording my swings and watching them back and basically self-coaching, and then I spot swing flaws, go get random drills, work through those drills, watch the improvements, and that was kind of my cycle. So seeing that the deWiz had all the detailed data and it was there for every swing, every time, and I didn't have to walk away. It's in my ear. I'd wear these headphones all the time, like on the range, and it was just fantastic. And it took one of the things I had been doing was working on shallowing out, like a lot of people are. I do have an in to out delivery, and I was making a lot of good progress, and my ball striking had improved, but I was still having issues and some inconsistencies. And when I got the deWiz, I noticed that my transition was a little on the high side. It wasn't a huge over the top move. I was in like the 6 to 8 centimeter range. But then my IDDX value, the initial downswing, was like up at like 40 degrees. So I was taking things away inside. I was coming from the inside, but I was swinging at the ball. And so even though I was coming in from a shallower angle, it wasn't the right sequencing. And so that was really hard to break. And as the deWiz turned all that around.
No, that's awesome to hear. And one thing I didn't spot there. So you mentioned that your transition, I think you said 6 to 8 centimeters. You are here in the U.S.
Yes.
Do you make a conscious effort to use centimeters over the inches? Because that is actually something that I hear a lot from people here in the States, where, yes, you can have it set to inches, and, to us that makes more sense. but a lot of people like using it from centimeters because they feel it's a little more precise and the precision of
Right.
the smaller numbers is easier to work with. So I'm just curious if that was something that you kind of consciously made a decision of.
Yes. I tried inches out, and I like the smaller increments way better. And then it's also, I guess, kind of a psychological thing. I know what an inch is from using it every day. And like, I know what a centimeter is, but I don't work with centimeters. So I don't think about the actual distance. And that just lets me focus on the precise movements in the swing and just look at the numbers there.
I got you. No, I just, I was curious about that. So I guess, and kind of, this has been great. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here and talk about your story. And I guess my question is what's next? What part of your game is the next part that you're working on? You've been working on transition. I know you talked about the disc wedges. So what is it? What's the kind of the goal for the summer and moving forward with your game, and what you're looking to improve upon next?
So my original goal, I just wanted to get down to a single digit handicap. I haven't ever competed. I used to do competitive powerlifting, and so I had that competitive drive there, and I kind of accidentally got good enough to be good at that. And I could see this going the same way, where I'm just practicing things I want to practice to get good because I enjoy just improving. And if it turns out I get pretty good, then maybe I will do some tournaments.
That's awesome. Phillip Brown joins us from Georgia, another deWiz success story. Phillip, once again, thanks so much for taking the time to join us, and we look forward to hearing your progress in a couple of months from now.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.